Hi, my name is Jesse Durham, and we're back for another episode here on the channel where we're actually going to be starting a new series. I've been looking forward to this for some time. We've been amassing some questions and things that have been voiced from multiple sources, whether in person, in meetings, or comments, questions on the channel itself, and just compiling these different locations all to one spot to start this series and bring you some questions. Some of them will be repetitious. That's fine. Repetition is the mother of learning. Leaders are repeaters. It's okay. This is a simple idea. The idea that you can become your own banker as described and conceived in our Nash's work, Becoming Your Own Banker, the Infinite Banking Concept. And yet it is a paradigm shift. There are repetitions of revelations and perspective that we can gain on this topic. So let's dive in. The first question I have, thank you Brenda, is going to be, why wouldn't I do this, meaning this idea of becoming your own banker, the infinite banking concept, and putting it into practice? Why wouldn't I do this with a checking account? Well, you absolutely can. See, you could practice the infinite banking concept with your mattress, with a coffee can, with your checking account, a savings account. You can banking, if we actually think about what banking is, can be performed in many different ways. What I would suggest that we recall is that ownership, control, risk, these types of factors be evaluated. If we can keep studying, keep learning for yourself, answer these questions for yourself. But yes, we can use a checking account. Where is that checking account is my question. Well, it's at a bank, a commercial bank. Okay. Do we own that bank? So there's no ownership there of the entity wherein we would like to practice banking. Okay, so somebody else is the actual owner of that bank. So what does that mean? It also means then, therefore, that that owner of that bank gets to receive the dividends, the growth, the gains on the process of banking that occurs in that entity that they own. So ownership would be a question. How about control? If you did want to access capital from a bank or a third-party lender, you're going to have to jump through requirements, hoops. There's going to be checks on numbers, backgrounds. You're just going to have to expose yourself and see if you qualify for whatever it is that you're wanting to be able to do in your life. Whereas with the infinite banking concept, the whole idea is to bring banking back to the me and to the you level. So control is going to be a big factor in considering, why would I practice with a dividend-paying whole life policy with a mutual company where we are part owners, where we have guarantees and control? So ownership, control, risk. There's some history that we could look at. There's some history that I would suggest that you look at if this question really matters to you, like it has mattered to others that have asked it as well. Why a whole life policy? Look at banks, and we'll cover more material on this channel, but there are just many different factors. In fact, I can think of more than a dozen factors that I personally believe that a whole life policy that's been properly structured for the infinite banking concept provides that no other entity does, where we have the ownership and the control. So excellent question. I really appreciated how that came up in our conversation the other day. So thank you for letting me cover that here for the benefit of everyone. All right, next question is, where can I deposit to where I could earn multiples on every dollar that I deposit? Excellent question. Myron asked this one. I appreciate it very much. This one showed up on the channel. Where indeed? Let's start with the book. I happened upon this idea myself. It's not something that I've come up with. I've just put it into practice, seen how it's worked for me, my household, business, etc., many different areas. And I suggest in the strongest sense that we all, myself included, keep returning back to Nelson's work, Becoming Your Own Banker, the book, where we see exactly how banks work, why we would want to have ownership and control over our own entity for our banking purposes, why that should be a whole life policy that's properly structured with a mutual company that pays dividends and all these other different things, right? And recognize that before I get to this answer of where can I put my money and earn, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, whatever, we could use our imagination there, right? And banks certainly do. Nash said that, banks lend money that doesn't exist, and that's evil. What I would suggest is that we first remember that somebody performs the banking function in our lives. And it's either you for you, me for me, or we abdicate that responsibility to somebody else to whom we are beholden. Now, I wanted to preface with that. Where can we put our money to capture the banking process in our household, in our business, in our investing, whatever it is we do with money? Well, a properly structured, dividend-paying, whole life policy with a mutual company is the best entity that I've found. And again, read Nelson's book for that. Read his second book, Building Your Warehouse of Wealth. Check out more on this channel. If this happens to be your first video that you're seeing of the information here, dive deeper. I highly suggest it. But we can recognize very quickly that for every dollar that's deposited into a commercial bank, that many more are leaving out the door in car notes, mortgages, etc., than have been deposited. So commercial banks are definitely earning multiples. They're moving the money multiple times, turning it over and over and over. So can we begin to practice that ourselves? We'll start using your imagination. Look at this entity of the whole life policy and how you could start getting your dollars to perform more than one task. How could you finance a vehicle and get the money back? I mean, out of all the vehicles that you've purchased in your lifetime, how much of that money that you spent to procure those vehicles do you have back now? None. I didn't either before seeing this idea and this concept and how we could start financing vehicles to an entity that we own and control so that we could procure that and also get the money back. So wouldn't that be a growth of your money right there? And then ultimately we must remember that the infinite banking concept is not investing. It's the banking function. It's us captivating the banking function where we finance our lifestyle, whatever that may look like, and we get the money back. Now, does that mean that when we do so with a dividend paying whole life policy that cash values grow, that death benefit grows, which means net worth and our access to capital and many other things, that continues to grow? Absolutely. So does that talk about returns? Yes. So I hope that's helpful. Again, Myron, thank you for the question. Great question. All right, next we have what is a comment from Andrea, also on the channel, where she was saying that she's very intrigued, she was curious about this concept, and was looking forward to digging into it. I just want to throw this out there. That's the impetus behind this channel, is to provide education and information on the idea that you and I can become our own bankers, that we can put into practice the infinite banking concept. So I highly encourage that. Keep digging in on the channel here. Keep asking questions. I appreciate your comment, Andrea. Read Nelson's book. Read his second book, Becoming Your Own Banker, Building Your Warehouse of Wealth, and touch base back with us and let us know how that digging in is progressing for you. Love to hear from you. All right, I believe this is going to be from our video posted on the channel, Time is Money, where we had a question on where do I suggest that money be invested to make those dollars like employees, meaning working for us. So let me recap that particular video by saying that we can earn income a couple of different ways. We can put time at work, or we can put money at work. Many of us have put our own personal time, maybe employed others, and put their time to work to provide income, gain, business revenue, etc. But also, when we have dollars that aren't being lazy, that aren't parked somewhere that we don't own and control, and we employ them in some work for us, perhaps, and this is a wild thought, this will be my answer to the question, perhaps in financing whatever it is that we are primarily doing with our time. If I'm a contractor actively building my business of building, okay, somebody is performing the banking function in my profession for me. Well, I would suggest that it be me for me, you for you. So if you could start to captivate a portion and eventually, hopefully, your entire financial footprint as a contractor, for example, to be able to finance every need that you have for that particular business within your own ability through dividend paying whole life policies that you own and control, to be able to buy equipment and just all these different things. You know your business better than I do, but to be able to cover the financing of whatever it is that it takes to run your business, overhead, taxes, all these different things, yes? So the best place for you to be able to invest your money, don't take my suggestion, but I don't tell people where to invest their money, but I would say if you're making a profession out of something, doesn't it make sense to consider financing your profession? If you're an employee, doesn't it make sense to consider why you should and could finance your household's doings? Somebody's performing the banking function for a household if you're an employee. Somebody's performing the banking function for your small business, or if you're some specialist in some particular field. That's being facilitated by someone. Have you abdicated that, or do you relish the idea of having ownership of that and control over that yourself? Do what it is you're doing and get the money back. What if you could pay your taxes that you need to for your business, but you got that money back? What if you could buy a new piece of equipment that you need necessary for growing, expanding, and performing your business, your profession, but you got the money back from that as well? Wild thought, I know. Again, if this is your first video, keep diving in. We walk examples like that out left and right. It's good fun. If you're an investor, could you mitigate risk in your investments by capturing and not abdicating the banking function in your investments? Food for thought. Consider that. I don't tell people where to invest. I have things that I enjoy, things that interest me, and I study that. I learn that. I develop that. I create relationships in that area, in that field, and I would suggest that you do the same. And remember that the banking function will be performed on whatever that is that you're doing or considering doing it. Maybe you're thinking about opening up a business for yourself. Whatever the case may be, somebody's performing the banking function. Let's start with, Nash said, if you'll capture your need for finance by practicing the infinite banking concept, if you will provide for your need of finance, everything after that, it's just gravy on the biscuit, right? Investments, we can talk about those things. I'm not here to make suggestions, but if you could provide for your need for finance, just use your imagination. There's no telling what you could do. Great question. I appreciate that. It's a common one. I'm glad that you gave me the opportunity to be able to cover it here on the channel in this video here on our Q&A series. And last but not least, in my own humble opinion, if you haven't noticed, we've added a blooper reel playlist from the beginning. I'm a father, I'm a husband, we own property with chickens, dog, cat, all these different things, right? And sometimes something will happen that I find funny. Maybe you found comic relief. It seems that Tim found some comic relief in some video that may or may not have included children or chickens. And he said, more of these, LOL. So Tim, I appreciate you recognizing our sense of humor and joining in with us for a quick laugh. I will be posting bloopers as they come. I love that we've started this series. I've been looking forward to the series on questions and answers, things that are emailed here to the channel, things that are put in comments, things that arise in personal meetings, webinars that we host and have, speaking, whatever the event may be. There's always good questions of folks working through their education, and you know, that's the whole goal of this channel, is to provide the education, to provide the information, because what I personally believe is that when people know what's going on, that they'll know what to do, what they'll want to do, right? And he that hath ears to hear, let him hear. I heard something this week and it spoke to me. A gentleman said, the cream rises to the top. And I've heard that saying before, of cream rises to the top. But he said, cream rises to the top all by itself. And it just spoke a little bit differently to me. So I hope that you, and I believe that you are, those that are listening to a question and answer series on a subject like this, it's not being shunned by those that aren't cream rising to the top. So congratulations on what you're doing. I would love to be able to hear from you. This has been a great pleasure for me to be able to bring this question and answer series to bear here, to get this one kicked off and started. I know that we're going to have more installments on this series. So if you have a question, if you have a comment, you can put it on the channel, of course. You can email durhamtalents@gmail.com. My phone number is 828-817-4223. You can reach me there. If you would like to see how we could look at this idea of becoming your own banker for your household, for your business, whatever the case may be, your investing portfolio, we'd love to be able to have a conversation. Feel free to reach out, touch base. Again, this has been a great pleasure for me. I look forward to our next conversation. I hope you have a great day. Take care.